Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our Power of God Ministries weekly devotional series, Walking in the Word. My name is Kevin Stewart, and I'm one of the leaders of the ministry. And we took a break last week from our topic of discussing knowing God's will. And where we left off was speaking about the sacrifice. And we said the sacrifice established two things. One was that the sacrifice established the order of the relationship, which was there was a subordinate and there was a superior being in the relationship. And it was a subordinate being us, who offered the sacrifice to the superior being God. And it was the superior being who determined whether that sacrifice was holy and acceptable. We said the second thing was that the sacrifice also reoriented our value system or priorities. In the Old Testament, we said that the people would bring the first fruit of their crops, or they would bring the firstborn of their flocks and offer that as a sacrifice. Now, that thing had value to the family in terms of their providing for their living, or whether it be that they traded it or they bartered or they sold it for income for the family, or they used it as provisions to feed the family. It had value. And in offering it to God, they were explicitly saying, this thing has value, but you have more value than this thing. So as an expression of your value, God, we're giving you this thing as a sacrifice, or we're sacrificing this as an offering to you because you're worthy. And the question was on the table, are we willing to be that sacrifice that's offered to God as an expression to show He's worthy? And so we're surrendering what we value, which is ourselves, as that sacrifice to Him. Today we want to talk about the offering or the presenting of the sacrifice itself. You see, as elementary as it may sound, a sacrifice is not truly a sacrifice until it's presented. And by that we mean when the first fruit of the crops or the firstborn of the flock was brought to the priest and given to him. It wasn't until that person let go of that offering that is considered presented. So Paul uses the word present quite intentionally when he's speaking of offering our bodies. He says, when we present our bodies to God, what he's expecting in our presentation is that we let go or relinquish control of our body's responses, or our body's reactions to our passions, our priorities, and our perspectives, and that we let go and allow God now to take control through His Spirit at work in us to work out what He sees best and He sees fit for our lives. So in presenting our bodies, what we're saying is we're relinquishing our control for our purposes and submitting it to God for His control and His purposes that will be manifest or shown and evident all around us, that this is God at work by the choices we now make with our bodies, made evident from the things in our mind, our will, and our emotions, or in our souls. Oftentimes we're afraid of making this decision because we think God is going to take something from us that we desire, or ask us to do something that we don't desire. And so we're often not willing to present ourselves as a sacrifice. For the more seasoned of us, we may present ourselves partially, where in some cases we may do the thing, and in cases that don't agree with us or our priorities, we don't do it. But the question now becomes, is partial presentation an acceptable sacrifice before God? And obviously the answer is no. So maybe we need to start not with what is God going to take from us or prevent us from doing if we surrender fully, but what is God granting us or giving us if we do. You see, Jesus said we'll come I have come that you may have life and have it to the full. And we perhaps will not, in God's wisdom, enjoy life to the full without a full surrender, without a full presentation of our bodies as that sacrifice. Because a full cup can take nothing else. So God is asking us to empty what's there so he can fill it with what needs to be there. So if you have never considered surrendering fully to God, offering your bodies fully to God as a sacrifice, because of what he may take, consider he offered him his whole self in his Son as a sacrifice that you may have an abundant life, and is now inviting you to offer yourself in turn that you may fully experience that life. You have a great week. Bye-bye.